I think one of the greatest books ever written was written by a tinker by the name of John Bunyan. And it is called A Pilgrim's Progress, translated into more languages than any other book outside of the scriptures. And if you've not read Pilgrim's Progress, you've picked your own pockets. Get a hold of it. Well, I remember going through his home in the United Kingdom. My wife was with me, and there was a lady at the desk, and there were people from Japan and Korea and all over the world visiting. And I said to the lady, isn't it amazing, this little book? Think of the millions it has. You know what she said to me? I'm not making this up. I have a witness and my wife standing next to me. She said, I haven't read it. She was the receptionist. I said, you haven't read it? She said, well, I'm not into allegories. I said, get the children's version, please. Even the children's version is so remarkable, so beautiful. If you haven't read it to your kids, start reading it to them. It tells the whole gospel. And the climactic moment comes when Pilgrim has got this burden on the back, and he's coming up to the hill, and he meets three angels. The first is the angel of dawn. And when the angel of dawn meets Pilgrim coming, he just says to them, you know, that thy sins be forgiven thee. And the whole back comes rolling down the hill. And it says how the tears were just pouring down his face. I really believe Bunyan had read the story with the woman of alabaster ointment to find the terminology for this. Because the tears flowing, just like the woman, peace be unto you, just like the Lord said to her, and he was just not willing to leave that moment. The angel of dawn. And then you get the angel of daybreak. The angel of daybreak takes away the old garments and puts on the new ones and puts the mark on the forehead. And then there's the angel of dusk, which gives a scroll to give you a map for the journey. What more do you want? Thy sins be forgiven thee, the new garments that you now wear, and the map to lead you on and guide you into the future. The angel of dawn, the angel of daybreak, and the angel of dusk. He calls them the three shining ones. How beautiful. An ordinary tinker seeing the beauty of the gospel, and he takes you through all of Vanity Fair and all of that stuff and brings you right to that mountain where at the sight of the cross, the bag just falls down. You know, recently when Cliff Barrows passed away, I told this story of a memory with Cliff and his wife, and they lived in Atlanta for some time after his first wife, Billy, had passed away. He married beautiful Ann Barrows, and they made their home in Atlanta, Georgia. We used to meet quite often. Cliff was an amazing man. Absolutely an amazing man. He got the world singing, "This is my story, this is my song," praising my Savior all the day long. But Cliff didn't know that my worldview changes at 9 p.m. So he came to our house for dinner, and about 9:05, the lights started to go out in the house. He was still telling me all of the memories of his years with Billy Graham, what flight they'd missed, what they had in Northeast India, and so on. And as these lights are going off, Anne says to him, "Darling, I think we've outstayed our welcome. The lights are going out in this house." So I said, "It's okay, Cliff. Your stories are more interesting. I'll turn the lights back on." And then before he left, I said, "Cliff, I want to tell you one story that you probably don't know." He said, "What is it?" I said, "There was a man who came to meet me when I was speaking for James Kennedy once. He walked up to the front and he shook hands with me. And I said to him, 'What's your name?' He said, I said, 'Where are you from?' He said, 'Romania.' I said, 'What's your name?' He said, 'Dwight Barrows.' I said, 'Dwight Barrows from Romania?' I said, 'How does a Romanian get a name like Dwight Barrows?' He said, 'It's a long story.' He said, 'You know, during the days of Ceausescu, I wanted to escape. I swam across some waters. I arrived in Vienna, and I stood outside the American embassy day after day, begging them to let me in. I wanted to meet the ambassador. They wouldn't let me do it. So I kept sitting outside the embassy and said, I'm not going to leave till you allow me to meet the ambassador. So he comes into the embassy. Finally, the ambassador says, bring him in. He said, what do you want? He said, I want to move to America. He said, I don't want to go back to Romania. And the ambassador looked at him and he said, you know what? I like you. I'll give you the visa to get to America, but you're going to have to promise me to read 2 books. He said, which books are those? He gave him the Bible, and he gave him the biography of Dwight L. Moody. He said, read these 2 books, I'll get you into America. And they came here. He said, so I arrived in Detroit. I started working for the automotive company, but I got into alcohol and drugs. I was making a mess of my life. Periodically, when I was sober, I would read Dwight Moody's story and so on and so forth. And he said, one night I was so down, I started to walk way towards the Pontiac Stadium. I said, thousands of people coming out, and I thought it was a football game. I found out it wasn't. It was some kind of religious meeting that was going on. And they were leaving, and it was over. So I walked up to the platform to find out what it really was about, and there was a man there folding chairs. And the man looked at me and said, can I help you? He said, am I late for the meeting? He said, yes, it's over, but come on up, let's talk. And he said, that man led me to lead Jesus Christ. His name was Cliff Barrows. Cliff looked at me and his eyes got so flooded with tears. He said, Ravi, I remember the incident. You gotta be kidding me. I said, Cliff, after he came to know the Lord, he got baptized and he took Dwight L. Moody's first name and your last name, and he was baptized as Dwight Barrows. About 5 or 6 years ago, Cliff phoned me. He said, do you know how I can get a hold of him? I said, well, why don't you just Google his name? It's not a common name. You'll find it out. And he did. He tracked him down. He tracked him down. And Cliff, in his book of memoirs, was going to put the whole story down. You see, when transformation comes, there's always a series of events and a series of people involved. You never do it on your own. God brings somebody into your life. Just before I came here, Pastor's son James came and asked me if I'd sign a copy of that book for a friend who's in the audience tonight, who said he was an atheist, read the book, I don't know whether it was Can Man Live Without God or which one, or one of the programs we'd done, and gave his life to the Lord. He's in the audience here tonight.